Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Tamara, where I have the honor of interviewing people across the globe who are innovators and disruptors. And what I love most about this show and the people that I interact with and that you get to hear from is that really they're everyday people like you and me who have decided to do something pretty freaking awesome. And when I met this gentleman that you're about to meet, I had that exact same feeling. So Anthony Gonzales is the founder of Uno Mas, which is basically an apparel company. So I'll let him kind of describe more about why it is what it is, why the phrase. I have mine on, I would like to point out, because I met Anthony at a pop-up that he did at a CrossFit gym where I was at. And we got to talking about the brand and why he built it and the entrepreneurial journey. And I thought it was so good that obviously I needed to share it with all of you. Before we dig in and I welcome Anthony, I just want to remind everybody of two things. One is this show streams live on Wednesdays. Sometimes we do specials on Fridays, and it streams live on YouTube. So if you're joining, ask those questions, put those comments in. We want this to be like a real show where people actually get to interact. That's the beauty of doing it live. So you get your questions answered as well as mine. Second part is, don't forget, in the middle of May, we have that AHA Academy 5-day Innovator Challenge coming up. There's more on that on our website. That is great for you if you're looking to elevate your game, take it to the next level, get unstuck from something, get more recognized, be high value, high performing. All right. With that said, let's get back to the crop top I am wearing and what's going on with Uno Mas. So Anthony, thank you for joining me and thank you for joining our community today.
For sure. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So Anthony, as I was saying, Anthony and I had a great conversation after a WOD one day. And we were talking about, he had this awesome pop-up with all these different shirts and people were buying a ton of them. But it says Uno Mas on it and on all of it, right? And there's a reason for that. This isn't just some apparel and some kind of accessories. So will you back us up and talk a little bit about what Uno Mas is and what it stands for?
All right. So Uno Mas just means one more. Very simple. So it's just pretty much just to encourage you, whatever your goal or your journey is, that when time gets tough and you feel like giving up, you can always go Uno Mas, one more, and just keeping it simple. You know what I mean? So when you feel like it's just something, it started like it's mainly like a little mantra, right? Like I said, it started off with fitness. Then I had people telling me about it. Hey, they use it for sobriety. Some people use it for, honestly, depression when they feel like giving up. They say, hey, what's tomorrow? Like, what's one more day? So it's just been like growing to something something larger than me, and something larger than I can ever imagine. And so, but yeah, so Uno Mas just means it's just a reminder that you can do one more thing. And if you fail on that one last try, you know that you've given it your all, and you can maybe just try again, and it's just like a continuous, just never stopping.
Why do you think one more is so powerful versus I'm going to reach my end goal right away? Like we always think so big and then we struggle in the small, I think.
I think because from my experience, is when you reach a goal, what next?
Hmm.
Right? It's like
Sure.
that's an ending point, right? I want to reach my goal, and that's an ending point. And so the goal is to let's continue to grow. Let's continue to keep moving. Let's continue to have that process continuing to go, because I've had some times that, I've finished this painting, or I finished this job, and or I did this workout. Like, you're not going to just do one workout for the week, or you're not going to do one workout in your entire life, right? Like, or let's just say you actually get the six pack that you want, or you want your cholesterol to be at the number that you want it to be at. And then you're like, okay, now you're going to go back to eating shitty food. And no, you're going to continue to make this into a normal everyday process. And so,
Mhm.
and then also, Mas it's also doable. It's also like, I can do one more thing. I can read one more line in the book that I'm reading, or I can do. It's just so simple, right? It's simple, but it's also so big in the fact that you can continue to grow.
So I love that, Anthony. And I have to say, I feel like I use that mantra every day. So it's like one more, I'm a small business owner. So one more sales call, one more request for an interview, one more, email back to a client, whatever it is. But I feel like that's helped me, especially, I don't know if this is how you feel, especially in those moments when I didn't want to do something. So I think
Exactly.
it's easy when you're motivated. Like I can do 100 things when I'm motivated, but
Right.
really in the moments where I'm like, I really want to be done here, but I know I shouldn't, or I know I have more. I don't know if that's how you feel about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's kind of weird, like when you uh give an example, you just said I did 100 reps or something, right? Right.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let's just say your goal was to do 100 and you got to 99 and you couldn't do that one more. You feel defeated, even though you shouldn't. You did 99 of them. But also going back to relating it to your small businesses, like I actually have one of my main. This is so Uno Mas is my passion project, my passion side business. I have my main income is I have a small roofing company in Denver, Colorado, and I have a small office out in Dallas. So, but I tell I was, you know, right when in the beginning stages of making Uno Mas, I was knocking on doors to do roof inspections while we were doing a roof installation in a neighborhood, and I was knocking on the doors and people were answering, but I was just wasn't. It was just no's, constantly no's, 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 no, 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 look at my roof, no, get away from my door, and I made it all the way to the house that we were installing, back to that house, and I told my brother, and I was like, man, I was like, dude, I was like, I did this whole cul-de-sac and I got all no's, and the one roof that I did get on, there was no damage, and then I don't know. And then I look jokingly to my brother, I go, hey, Uno Mas. And I went to the block caddy corner. And that when I said Uno Mas and went to that one extra door, that one door, that customer, we actually got a deal and we're
Ah,
wind up replacing his roof. And because of that one roof, we wind up doing the 10 other roofs around it.
oh,
All
that's
because
great.
all because I said Uno Mas. And I said it
Yeah.
jokingly when I first started it, but I was like, oh man, I can actually, this is actually like, can be universal. And it did motivate me, because if I wouldn't have said Uno Mas and just like, this is a defeat, I tried, right? No, I was like, you know what, Uno Mas, and I did it. And if that one would have failed, I probably would have said Uno Mas again. And again, right back to the whole mantra, the whole thing about Uno Mas. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's I love that story because it's such a reminder, I think, of how important that one more really is in life across anything that you do. So I think we forget that. And to your point, I mean, you've worked hard, right? You hit a whole cul-de-sac. It's not like you hadn't done anything.
Right.
But here's the other thing I really like about that I just realized as you were talking is it doesn't end. And I mean that in a really, really positive way. It's
Mhm.
not like you go Uno Mas and then you got your yes, or you got your thruster, or you got, whatever it is, your rep. Um, and then you stop. So it's like a mantra that keeps you going and going. And I will say, because like I said, I've got my shirt on, it reminded me, and I wore it for a workout the other day. And we were doing clean and jerks, and they were very heavy. So for those who
Yeah.
don't do CrossFit, you lift the bar off the ground onto your shoulders, and then you put it up over your head. That's the gist of it. So yeah, I always forget. Not everybody turns out does CrossFit. Who knew?
Right.
Well, I know. I always thought, I'm like, do you drink the Kool-Aid tomorrow? Yes.
Exactly.
Um, but it was like, I was like, okay, I think somebody else yelled it to me because I was wearing the shirt, and I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And then I did it, and then I started to think it, and then everybody else around started to think it. And we were all doing it and getting one more, and that might have been the best class for all of us because all of us
Mhm.
started to live Uno Mas, Uno Mas, and we were just getting one more until we literally couldn't pick it
That's
up off the
awesome.
ground. Yeah, it was so
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the goal was as many as possible in a certain amount of time. So
Right. Right. Right.
here, I'm going to relate this to life for a second. Is I think so in when you're doing clean a barbell lift, it's very easy to stop and pause and catch your breath and use that
Mhm.
as an excuse not to lift the bar. Sometimes you need it, but oftentimes
Right.
I find it's like I'm going to waste 5 seconds if I just take a step back and I'm going to
Exactly.
hunch over
I
and
think
breathe.
I think I need to put some more chalk on my hand. Let me
Yeah,
go to the furthest
hey,
bucket away to do
don't
that.
share my secret, Anthony. Everyone's going to know now.
Exactly.
Totally what I do. But when you have that mantra of Uno Mas, it keeps you from the pauses that delay you from doing what you
Mhm.
need to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do you
Mhm.
find that too? Like, and
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
you
I know.
go ahead?
No, I was saying, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit of, so you decide to turn this into an actual company, right? Beyond just a mantra. What was
Yeah.
that transition like? And what made you think, you know what, this is something I actually want to turn into a business, not just something that I want to do for myself?
Uh, what that turning point was when I went to, so I did Battle of the Badges. Uh, that same technically it was like 7 months later. It was like my second pop up after the very first one, so it was like a 7 month space because I wasn't really thinking of it as like an actually doing a. This to me, it wasn't actually big a brand. It was me of just, hey, I'm going to sell these couple of shirts to motivate me. People want them at the gym,
Mm.
and if anything, I'll sell them to my fellow people at the gym. And if anything, it's going to fund my membership. You know what I mean? Like that's how I looked
Yeah.
at it. And then, but then I had a customer come up to me and say, "Hey, are you guys going to go to Granite Games?" I was like, I don't know what that is. And they were like, oh, it's this huge, like, it's just like these smaller competitions, but it's this CrossFit competition, and but it's in a larger scale. It's a regional competition to then go to a national competition. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, there's going to be tons of people there all over. And I said, okay, well then I talked to my brother and I was like, hey, we can like, dude, we were making some, like, we did this one pop up at Battle of the Badges. And I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, people really, really are relating to this, and this might be something. And
Mm.
so I told my brother, I was like, hey, let's see what this Granite Games is about. And then Gobs from CrossFit Mob, he said that a couple of the athletes at our affiliate that we're at is going to be competing in the Granite Games. So I just used it as as an opportunity not to sell Uno Mas, but to see if the CrossFit community was accepting of what Uno Mas was becoming, and in a larger scale. So I was like, I told my brother, I was like, let's take a road trip down there. Let's go support our fellow peers at the gym, and let's just hand out stickers and just kind of like check the vibe out.
Yeah.
Is it just a Colorado thing that people, or is it just a Thornton thing? Thornton, Colorado? Like maybe it's just like, what is it, right? Because to me, I just was like, I don't know why people are really. I made this shirt for me, you know what I mean? And so I was like, well, let's just see what it's like. And we wind up. I was watching the Buttery Bros on YouTube when I was like,
Yeah.
well, what is the Granite Games? So I like looked up Granite Games, and then I saw the Buttery Bros' vlog, and I was, oh, these guys seem cool. And me is, I'm not a type of person. I don't like idolize anybody, and I don't think, oh, what, who these people. But with them, I was like, they seem like they have a pretty good engagement with the community, and they have a pretty good following. And they said that they're going to the Granite Games, so I just DM'd I just DM'd them, and just on Instagram, I was like, hey, I'm going to the Granite Games, and I started this brand kind of on accident, and I would like to meet you guys and get your input of the industry. And they replied, and they were like, dude, come out. We're going to be at this CrossFit gym and I think it was in Minnesota or Missouri. I forgot where the Granite Games were at. Um, anyways, we met up at a CrossFit gym there, and then we went to the Granite Games, and I got their insight and got some guidance of just saying like, hey, just whatever you do, stay true to yourself and be honest. And I was like, that's who I am anyways, and so this is great. And then with that, they just connected me with like, they like introduced me to one of their merch guys to get some
Mhm.
more like feedback on like how the
Yeah.
actual industry works. Met up with him at the Granite Games, and then I was just handing out stickers, and one thing led to another, and we wind up. One of the guys who put on that whole competition, one of the directors, he came up to me. I didn't know he was the director, and he was like, he just saw we had a different I had a different sweater on, and he said "Uno Mas," and just a random guy saying "Uno Mas" to me, and I was like, "Oh." He was like, "I've been seeing your stickers everywhere, and like, have you ever thought about?" We just started talking, and first we talked about just like we were just talking just life, and then he was like, "You should probably do a bigger event." and I didn't know that guy was like the VP of like putting these things together. And then he was like, I think you would do really well. And then he's the one who put on Wadapalooza, and he was
Mm.
like, you should do Wadapalooza. And I was like, I don't know. What does that look like? And that just kind of snowballed into making it a, like, okay, this is going to be big. People were accepting. The industry was big enough, but also still seemed small. The community seemed small, that it was accessible. And like I met Matt Frazier at that competition. I met Mal O'Brien. I met Chandler Smith. I met like all these like big athletes at this competition, and I was just like, this is cool. Like these are just like more elite athletes that I can just talk to and just get their insight. And I was like, this is pretty cool that this CrossFit industry or this CrossFit market, if you say, or whatever, is really accepting. And I felt that's what pushed me to be like, I turned to my brother and I was like, I think I'm going to try to actually make an effort into doing this. I think this could be something after that one trip, and not realizing how big these people were and how like, and I was like, oh, this is just like um, uh, if I was doing anything else. Sorry if I'm like in the shadows. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Um, but I just was just like, this is pretty neat. Let's just see what happens. And yeah, it's just started. That's when we were like, this is fun. Let's just, if anything, this is fun. You know what I mean? So
Let me back up because there's two things in here that I think are really important in your story. And I just have a quick question before I go back to them is when you went to the Granite Games that kind of started that snowball, did you have t-shirts? You were wearing shirts, right? It wasn't just stickers. You had actual shirts.
yeah. I had some
Okay.
shirts. I did bring some shirts with me, but we didn't pass it. We passed out just maybe a couple of shirts, and we weren't selling anything.
Okay, got it.
I
But you
just
had
gave some
some
shirts.
prototypes.
Yeah, no, I had our actual shirts. It wasn't
Yeah, yeah.
prototypes. I just had them with me. But I was, but because it was hello. There was a lot of people there. It wasn't
Yeah.
like the smaller competitions here in Colorado. There was a lot. It was a little intimidating. I was like, this is crazy. This is like
What was
pretty, yeah,
intimidating about
just so many people. And, and it wasn't, this is weird. It, when you go to a group of people, you feel like everybody, for me, I feel like everyone already knows each other,
it?
right? Unlike when you're networking or anything, I was like, man, I'm like really late to the party here. But there, it was like I knew them already. I feel like I was already accepting in there. And that to me was kind of like, in a way, intimidating because I'm like, it was a little too easy for me to just start talking to random people. And I just kind of was feeling like almost having that um like I just felt like I was supposed to belong there, but I also feel like I didn't at the same time because everyone was really talking to me. Everyone was like, "Oh, I really like this," and "Oh, I like the Uno Mas," and I was just kind of at first I was almost felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to be there. What's the word I'm looking for? I just like it
You feel
was
like an
just like
imposter? Is that the word?
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, imposter syndrome.
I only know that because I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah. So it was definitely a case of imposter syndrome for sure. So that was intimidating. It was intimidating because it was intimidating because what was going on in my head,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I don't. This is. It's just there were some times that I didn't pass at anything. I was just like, I'm gonna just sit here and just kind of soak in and be very observant and look at the people. And I started just was that was really, to me, was just trying to get out of my head, and that was really challenging for me, and that was really intimidating to me. But at the same time, I know how to. I do a lot of like journal, and I really read a lot of books, and like or I should say listen to a lot of books. But I was just like, I'm gonna just take a step back. I'm gonna see, and I'm just gonna be like, is this something? And then I was also looking at the other vendors there, and I was just like, I don't see a clothing brand like mine. I don't see anything like that for, like me. I don't see. I see in the crowd. I see people like me that I can relate to, like tattoos, little little hood. There's but honestly, not that many minorities. So I didn't see that many Black people. I didn't see many Mexican, Hispanics. I didn't see that many, and I was like, I don't really see. I see some, but I don't see out. And I was just like, and I just saw like I belong here. I need to be here. If anything, I need to be able to like. I know there's if there's people like here, I know there's people like me that really are like me, but also too is like it's also accepting. Is that if that makes sense? And so I was like, is this going? And then again, I didn't see a clothing brand that what was already making. And I was like, I don't see anything like that. I don't see this type of style artwork. I don't see this type of style shirts. I don't see the purpose. When I went to a couple other, there was like two brands there. There were kind of like a clothing brand. And when I went into their their booth, that's when I didn't feel welcome. That's when I didn't feel like that caring or actually like that like I hate to say it, but like I didn't feel like they wanted me to buy their stuff. They were too cool for me to buy their stuff. And I was like, that's the one time I didn't feel welcome was when I went into that space to buy something or to feel something. And I was like, this is not right. And
Yeah.
I'm a little different, and I want people when they come to my space. I don't care if there's 20 people at a pop up, 5 people, or just one person. I want to make sure that person feels welcome in my space, and I want to make sure that I can motivate them and keep them going because maybe I was in the beginning of my fitness journey, and maybe if I put myself in the perspective of, hey, I'm hanging out with a friend that I don't work out with, but I'm just here hanging out with them, and I kind of feel motivated by watching all these people work out, maybe I should look into like starting my journey. And then when you go into someone's space and they don't feel welcome,
Yeah.
that's a shock to a culture, right? That's like, oh, I don't want to be in this culture. And that's why it's like when I went to that space, when I went to Granite Games and I felt that I belonged there, but I also felt like I didn't. And I felt like intimidated. And there was all these different emotions that was going through me. And what I realized is that the community is tight. The community is really inviting but the brand side of it, of like people who are selling and the people who are actually like catering to those, it was different. It was totally, it was like the brand was too cool and the people were like, well, I like that brand, but I was just like, there's like that to me, that's not a connection. So I felt that and I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that everyone feels invited, everyone's included. That's why my shirts, well, except for I mean, crop tops. Guys have been rocking crop tops, but all of our
I
shirts
mean, I feel like
are
some guys
unisex.
bought them at the gym. I don't
Oh
know.
no, they did. No, they did. But they're unisex. You know, I try to make
Yeah.
sure that everyone knows that everyone and anyone can wear my. It's all inclusive with our apparel. So
I want to back up for a second because there's two things in this whole, well, there's a bunch of things really in this story that's so helpful for people, I think, and helpful for me too. But one is you talked about going as an experiment. Like you got a few t-shirts, you got some stickers. So you're really going to see, is this something? And I think oftentimes when we have these entrepreneurial ideas, we try to kind of like prove them in theory, you know, like in the back of your head, like, is this a good idea? And you're ruminating all the stuff versus going out there and testing. So for anyone listening who thinks they have an idea, just go test it somehow. Build and I call it prototype in the sense of like
it's market research, right? It's like a market research, right?
just
Yeah.
experiment with it. But what you said though really matters, which is I think you have to build the product, even if it's a rough prototype, to get real feedback from people. I don't think,
Exactly.
and I used to be an innovation brand strategy for years where we did these horrible focus groups. I fucking hated them every time because every time people are like, yeah, we love the idea. Yeah. But then you say how much you pay for it. And they're like, well, I don't know. So I think unless people really are like pushing you or trying to figure out where to buy from you or able to buy from you and want it, I'm not sure the idea is where it needs to be. It doesn't mean it's not right. It's just not where it
Right.
needs to be. So that's kind of one thing I think that's really important in what you said. But there's a bigger thing in there, Anthony, that I want to ask a little more about, which is I feel like you really put yourself out there to test, like to push it. So going to the games and whatever it is that you do, like to go with product and be like, here I am. This is it. This is what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to go talk to as many people. And even though I have imposter syndrome, how did you get over the imposter syndrome? And how did you think about like just really putting yourself out there in that way? Because I mean, you're a pretty charismatic and talkative guy. So I can see it being maybe easier for you. But at the end of the day, putting yourself out there, it's a challenge that holds a lot of us back, I think.
Yeah. What made me really got me through that was honestly working as my community. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, one of my headphones just went out. Give me 1 second. Um, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Can you still hear me? Can you say
Yep.
something? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
But what really got me really to kind of break through that was my own community at the CrossFit gym. Was when I was even working out. Like the whole reason why I started my fitness journey was because two reasons. One, I was dealing with depression and grief as a loss of my father, and then the second one was my health was out of control. And I'm still working on it. You know what I mean? I'm not the fittest person, but there's a lot to goes into that. And so all I do is skateboard and snowboard, but then I wasn't doing that. I wasn't even doing that as much. So that my only way of some kind of exercise was skateboarding and snowboarding, and I was hardly even doing that. And so when I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go into a CrossFit affiliate, and they're throwing weights around and they're doing stuff that I've never done really, and I'm not that type of person. So I went in there very vulnerable of like, I have to do this because it's like a life and death situation. But when I was there working out and having that encouragement with my person who's working out next to me saying, "You got this and you can do this," and that motivation was
Yeah.
kind of it brought through a lot of mental stuff because when you're picking up weight and you're doing stuff and your heart rate is going and your body is naturally in a fight or flight situation, and when you're not doing something you feel like you're literally your body thinks you're killing yourself, you want to stop, and and you feel like, oh my god, that's all mental too. And so it helps with with your mentality of like, oh, I can't do this, oh, I did it. And then having those peers saying, you got this, you can do this. And I felt less like a fraud, and I felt less like a an intruder or whatever, imposter. And I was just like, man. And so I'm like, if CrossFit's like this, how are they like this? Is it just when we're working out? No, it's the whole culture. And that's what really helped me put myself out there, is to say, hey, let's do it. And honestly, like, if I really want to make something, like, all we know is we have one life that we live, that we currently know, right? And I don't want to be on my deathbed saying, oh, I wish I could have started a clothing brand, or I wish I could have done this. I want to say, hey, I fucking tried. You know what I mean? And I did
I
it.
love
And and that's what's something that you have to do. And it's really hard. It's not everyone's not gonna. It's not as easy for everyone, but you have to. You have to be able to do it. I mean, when you're like trying to be in a actual relationship, you have to put yourself out there. You have to ask the girl out, right? The girl
Yeah,
has to
go
be
ask that girl out.
accepting, right? Or be accepted. That person who is being asked has to then be vulnerable to say yes or no, right? So it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like, if I really want something and I want something, I really desire something, how much do you really want it? And it's gonna be really hard, but that's what Uno Mas is coming in effect. Is like, what is that one thing to get me closer to say, to break out of my shell, or to do the step that I want to do? I can do one thing to get close to that. Maybe you don't have the 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 confidence yet to say I want to pursue my dream or whatever it is, but what is one thing that you can do that can help you with that? And that's what's going to help you with that confidence to start that brand that you want to do.
That is
Again,
such
Uno Mas.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's such great advice. And I've kind of really come to the realization that action creates confidence, not the other way around. So
Right.
I've built my confidence in growing my business through the yeses and the nos because I'm doing it and I feel good about myself for being out there trying and asking for the, for the sale or, asking for the partnership. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But I think sometimes we mistake that we need the confidence to do it, but I think doing it creates the confidence.
100%. a hundred
So,
percent.
and here's one other thing I don't know if this is how you think, so I want to get your thoughts on it. And this is something that just came to me really recently. I've started reading this book called Be Your Future Self, and Be Your Future Self Now, I think is the title. I read 3 books at once, so sometimes I mess them up. But it talks about making decisions today based on what you want in the future. So,
Hmm.
like, I'm gonna give you just a pull back the curtain and give you a personal example. I've decided to stop streaming all media for 65 days.
Oh, wow,
And
okay.
I've done that because I tend to play it in the background when I'm working, go to bed at night with my iPad to watch whatever. Frankly, there's nothing good on anyway. I don't even know what I'm watching, right? It's on when I'm cooking dinner. And
Listen, I
yeah,
don't know. Have you seen Shogun? I mean, that show is awesome.
I have so many shows that I love. It's a problem, but they'll be there when I come back. So,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
all right.
exactly.
But the reason I'm doing it is because I feel like I'm overstimulating myself all day. And I read this article about people who do that are actually like creating chaos in their brains without meaning to.
Hmm.
And I was like,
Right.
oh shit, right? I got to do something about this. So I made the decision. And last night was only day 2. And in my head, I heard myself go, you know what? I don't think going to bed at night should count. Like, okay, during the day and when I'm doing other stuff for sure. But I mean, night's different, right? Like you're going to bed, like what's and then I said to myself, okay, tomorrow, but what would your future self want? And I
Mhm.
thought, well, my future, like in 6 months or when the 65 days is over, what would your
Mhm.
future self want? And I thought, well, my future self would want to say, I did what I said I was going to do, not I watched whatever show I was watching.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I put the iPad down, I put it away. I didn't even turn it on, right? I put it away. And I was really proud of myself when I went to bed. But like a lot of what you're saying is it's not just about what you want today, but what you want to create in the future and how you want to live your life. So I don't know if you think about it kind of in that future tense or not, or what keeps you going in that direction.
100%. What I do is I'll give you an example of the space that we're in right now. It's a bigger space that we were before. Um, did we need to get a bigger space? Not necessarily, but I was like, hey, if I want to grow my roofing company and if I want to grow Uno Mas, I want to be in one bigger space and I want to be able to have room for growth. So I
Yeah,
forced myself to get this space, cost more money. It's in a better location, but I'm in the moving with the intention of growth. So
mm,
moving with intention,
mm,
right? That's my whole theme this year is move with
I
intention.
love that.
And so what am I going to do to grow, right? What's my
Yeah.
future self? What's my thing I want to do tomorrow, right? What you're saying. And so I said, okay, if I want, let's talk about my roofing company for a second. I want to grow my roofing company. So I'm in the process of hiring new sales representatives and adding them to the team. But I need to have the space to do that. In my old space, it was a very small office, and there's no way for me to do training in there. So I was like, I'm going to get a bigger space for training, get a bigger space for us to actually have our office space in order to do that. So I'm going to do this to force myself, put myself in an uncomfortable situation, to then force myself to work a little bit harder, to then keep myself accountable to making sure like, hey, if I'm going to make this rent every month, I got to make sure that I have the people to bring in that income for the business to grow it to when we're doing it. So that's one way I do intention. The other thing about moving intention, and I think I told you this and I've been saying this, but like a good example is that you're talking about split jerks earlier today.
Yeah.
In order for you to do a split jerk, right, you need to make sure that you can push, there's some people that can never done a split jerk and they can do 300 pounds, right? It's like they're just really strong. But if they don't practice that movement every single time, and if they don't work on your shoulders to then do that, you're going to strain yourself and you're going to hurt this. And then you're not going to be able to do a split jerk ever again, or it's going to be a lot harder and it's going to be frustrating. So in order for you to then lift heavy, you have to then work on these other elements like your shoulder strength and your form and all this stuff. You have to then move with intention to then push that weight. If not, if you don't move with intention, if you don't work out certain areas of your body to then do to do that split jerk, you're going to hinder yourself in the future. But if you work on the fundamentals and you work on moving with intention, then you're going to be able to do a split jerk for as long as your body can do it, and a lot longer than most people. And so, moving with intention, doing things uncomfortable, and having that goal in the future and saying, "This is my goal." I was thinking about it actually yesterday, is when I started Uno Mas, I had a friend of mine named CJ at CrossFit Mob goes, "Well, what do you see Uno Mas in like 3 years?" And I told him, I was like, "I'm not really thinking about it, but honestly, off the top of my head, is I want to introduce skateboarding to the industry. I want to introduce I want to introduce my culture that I grew up in to what I'm doing now." And just yesterday, we were doing skate promos and we were skating and we were doing that. I have a pro skater that went to pro am in Tampa, Florida, and got fifth place. And those were the best skaters in the world. And he was wearing Uno Mas. With intention, but unintentionally, that was my goal to eventually get there in year 3. And I think we're coming in on year 3 right now. And so, again, before I got to do all that, I was trying to just really focus on our customer base here in Colorado and then the CrossFit community. But now I'm really starting to I really want to take this to the next level and not just be just a CrossFit niche market. I want it to be everyone, because like I said, Uno Mas is a mantra that you can use with anything. I went from we're like a CrossFit type brand to now a motivational brand.
So I got a couple questions in. I want to get to this one from Oliver, which says, "You two have both talked a lot about getting no's and nose building confidence and nose in the cul-de-sac." I like that.
Yeah.
How do you keep going when you get a lot of no's? It feels like they come in a row. No's are hard.
So, yeah, no's are hard, but I start to embrace the no. I started to embrace that. I started embracing I know, no pun intending, because I know I'm going to get a no. That's everyone's
Truth.
first example. So one is, how do I, again, going with moving with intention, how can I go with avoiding not a no, but how do I open up to like as simple as an open-ended question, right? So what I do is to help with the no's is I try to avoid them as soon as someone opens the door, I try to find something around the house that says, "Hey, whose Corvette is that?" Or "Who painted your address sign? It looks awesome." That throws off a rhythm for a person that's automatically going to open up the door and say no. But
so you redirect them almost out of the gate.
Yeah. Because here's the thing: is I genuinely have a servant's heart. So you have to have the intentions on what you're really trying to do. Yes, we want to make money, we want to do that, but we want to serve we want to then again. I really genuinely want to have a customer for life. I genuinely want to make a friend. That's just me personally, and I put that in my heart and my value. My company, our very first number one value in our company is have a servant's heart. That's your main thing first. Everything else second. But what I do is I genuinely want to ask them about that painting of the address sign or the Bronco in the thing, and why am I bringing that to their attention first? So I say, "Hey, whose Bronco is that?" "Oh, that's my son's Bronco." "Man, I've always wanted a Bronco. I've always wanted a Bronco growing up." Whatever it may be, try to find something genuinely that's going to relate that to negate that no first, to kind of break that ice. But let's just say you do everything right and then you still get a no.
Which happens.
Right? What happens, right? So what I do with that is I say, okay, I know that I'm going to get that no, but what I want to leave is to just say, all right, well, my intention was to give that person to serve them.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, with the no, I understand. I'm going to be in the neighborhood. I'm going to be here. and you'll see me. And that no will probably eventually be a yes, or if no, it's a no forever. And I just tell myself, all right, I didn't get this one. The next one might be a better one. And if the next one is a no, okay, it's a no. What's the next one? And so it's just like, and honestly, to bounce back, you have to go, if I'm going to get a no, how am I going to react to it? How can I stray from that no? How can I backtrack and say, hey, all right, it's a no. And honestly, I kind of like when I get a no right off the bat, because then that kind of breaks my anxiety, because it's already happened. It's a no. And I go, okay, well, hey. And then honestly, I forget about my intention again of like trying to get on their roof, as I say, okay,
Yeah.
well, I got to know, like, all right, well, hey. And then I'll just go back into trying to just relate to them and say, all right, well, hey, how long have you lived in Colorado, or how long have you done this? And it just kind of like gives me a clean surface. And they're like, oh, it's like, okay, no, I'm not. And again, it's just like trying to say, okay, I want to sell something to you again. It's just like, all right, well, now let me just try to get to know that person. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
something might come up. But honestly, you just have to just really embrace the no. No, I'm going to get it. And then just keep going. This one may not be enough good, might be a no, but the next one might be a yes. It might be a yes. And go
Yeah.
on with that hope. So
I
really,
think
that's what I tell myself.
you kind of have to have a little bit of extreme optimism that at some point you'll get to the yes. And
Yeah.
I think the other key in that, though, is you have to, there's a couple of things, but one is you have to learn along the way. So, okay, did I do something that I could have done better
Gotta
that
adapt.
got this person to shut down? Did I go too hard too fast, right? Was I asking for the yes out of the gate without building a relationship? Was this not the right fit for this person and I still tried to convince them?
Right.
Because maybe it's not a right fit. Maybe they just had their roof done,
Exactly.
and I think you said it in your example. I think sometimes we drive to the hoop too fast. So what I heard you say is you're asking to get on their roof to look. You're not asking for the sale out of the gate. You're asking to get on the
Yeah.
roof, right? So you can
Yeah.
start the conversation. So my kind of biggest lesson along the way has been give people something to say yes to first before you get to like the sale, the close. But
Exactly.
let me ask you from a more in kind of in your head perspective. I mean, I have had days where it felt like everything was a no. No matter what I did, I got no's. And by the end of the day, I was just defeated and questioning what I was doing and questioning my own product. Like, because it's a little personal when you're an entrepreneur. It's like you called
Yeah.
my baby ugly, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's not 99.9% of the time, it's not personal. I've learned that in my 50 years on this earth. But like, how do you overcome those days that just, it feels like it beats you down a little bit? And we all have them, and we do eventually get to the yes, but it doesn't make those days any better when the, closing bell rings and you don't have that yes on your, on your sheet.
Yeah, there's been days that I got tons of no's. There's been days that even with Uno Mas, we only made like one sale at a pop-up. And it's just like, yeah, you start thinking, yeah, what you say, oh, I don't know. What the fuck am I doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why did no one see what I'm doing? And honestly, uh, I have to, one is reflecting, right? You can go through your head many times. I could have done this. I could have done this. Or done this better. But honestly, I tell myself that easy come, easy go, right? If it came easy, it can probably go fast, right? And I have to tell myself, this is just, you have to tell yourself, uh, you know what? Like, this is helping me build my character. This is helping me build my story. This is helping me, like, this fucking sucks. So when people ask me, like, in this situation, how do I get through it? What do I do? And honestly, it's just embracing that you failed, embracing, like, what could I done differently? And then don't give yourself 15 minutes to fucking be mad at yourself. Give yourself 15
Yeah.
minutes. I had to time myself because I would dwell in a bad energy, man. I would dwell of like, fuck, dude, like if I don't get anything, I'm gonna not pay rent this month, or I'm not gonna be able to pay my bills. And it's just like, and you just dwell in it. I hate to say this, but give yourself 15 minutes, allow you to have those feelings, allow you to be mad at yourself, cry, get mad, punch something, not anyone. Don't punch a person, punch something. Whatever it is you got to do to get you that anger out, if it's crying or whatever, but put a timer on yourself, give you 15 minutes to just kind of beat yourself down. And then when that 15 minutes stops, then you say, all right, it's done. Let's move on. Let me try to get out there, and I'm just going to have to go back out. I'm just going to have to go. I'm going to have to put myself in an uncomfortable position again. And you're going to do it. And tell yourself, I failed today. I actually been thinking about this. I want to make a shirt that says pro failure, a professional failure. And it's like pro failure, like be about failing. Be about, I'm going to fuck up and I'm going to say the wrong things and I'm going to have the sale right there and then lose it by saying something stupid or doing something, or something might happen and it's all right. And then when you do get a win, a yes, a win, celebrate that shit.
Yeah.
Be proud of yourself. And I can tell you, when you get that yes and you get that deal or you get that whatever, celebrate. Tell your loved one, tell yourself, and it makes all those no's feel so much better.
So much
these
better.
no, it's and honestly, you get like addicted to it. Like, ooh, you know, this no, like I said, this no was a no. It sucks. They didn't want my. I kind of have to. You have to tell yourself. I try to give them a gift. I try to give them something, an opportunity. They didn't want it. It's okay. In their time, they're gonna get it. Hopefully, they'll call me. But it's gonna make the yes so much better. It's gonna make that yes feel so much better. So I got another no. Okay, that's just gonna make my yes even better. And then when you get that yes, you come through. When you get that yes, when you get that sell, you have to come through and to be appreciative. Tell that customer thing.
Uh-oh. Hey guys, I think we lost Anthony for a moment, but he'll be back, I'm sure. He's frozen. So I'm going to add while Anthony's frozen, and say that I celebrate my wins every single day that I have them. And here's the other thing. I celebrate them when they're small.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Oh, there you are. Okay. No, I just kept talking. It's okay. No. I was just saying real quick, just to finish my story, because I started talking when you froze. Because I'm prepared for those moments. They happen in our world.
Okay.
Here's the thing I was saying is I celebrate my wins. But also what I've learned is I celebrate my wins, whether it's a $19 win or a $50,000 win. And I've learned not to ignore the little ones, because there's something in the psychology behind it that really matters. And so like, I just got a little pop-up that said, you know, $19.11, just, you know, hit your business account for a purchase that was made on our website. I totally saw. And now here's what happens. So funny, because, you know, I have a home office like a lot of us do. And I work on the weekends a lot. And I got 2 kids. And one's in college now, but I have a cowbell that I ring, which is a whole different story for another time about why. I ring it every time. And every time now, my kids will come running out of their room. Did you make a sale? What happened? Like, they know that's the that's the like exciting part we're celebrating. So anyway, so go back to what you were saying to finish that story about wins.
So what I was saying is that when you, just like what you were just saying about the small wins, the big wins, they're all a win, right? And they're all, to me, they're equal. It's one. It's if that person just buys one sticker or doesn't even buy anything, honestly, if it came through, I still consider that as a win when they come through my pop-ups. So, but going back to the sales size with my roofing company too, is like, when you get those no's, right? And then when you finally get that yes, all that, pretty much the customer service that you got, there's a train moving. All those customer service opportunities that were missed, you can now shine on this one. And they're really going to get that experience, and they're going to really feel your customer service, and they're going to really feel your appreciation towards them. They're going to feel valued even more, because you realize how hard it was to get that yes. And when you got that yes, you want to keep it. It's like finding that one. I set her up. You know what I mean? And I said, this is, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be the best husband. I'm going to be the best person. I'm going to be your person. And it's like, because I had so many no's, right? I finally found that one person. And the same thing with your customers. Like, I'm going to cherish you so much. And guess what happens after that? That customer is going to feel really valued. They're going to give you a great review. They're going to refer you to friends. You're going to be that person they're going to always call for anything. Hey, do you know somebody that knows this? And they're going to have so much trust in you, and they're going to see that value, and it's going to be a lot of good repercussions. And they're going to say, hey, you know what, Anthony, man, I literally had a customer tell me, man, my neighbor just got their roof replaced, and they said they had the worst experience. And I told them they should have went with you. You know what I mean? But they wanted to cut, like, they wanted to cut corners, they wanted to do all this stuff, and they just had the worst experience. And I told them, well, I didn't have that, and I want to make sure that the people who did say no, they felt very envious. Damn, I should have went with Anthony, or I should have went MT Roofing, or I should have, And then even with going back to with Uno Mas, when that customer does come in, like there was a time we've only made like one transaction. It's totally fine. That happens. We were doing like I forgot what event it was, but that one person that came through, he bought some stickers, and I was like, dude, thank you so much for buying the stickers. I really appreciate it. And I was like, here's our Instagram. That one customer is going to feel really valued. So when they're going to another vendor in the vendor village or whatever, impact is going to last longer than when they go to these other places. Just like when I went to the Granite Games, and there was other vendors that weren't inviting and weren't, didn't seem as accepting to me to talk to or anything like that. When I did have an interaction, one of those interactions at Granite Games was Podium. Podium was really like, oh my God, who are you? What are you doing? Like, they were very, hey, you should try our product. And we're now partners. I'm partners with Podium, and so, but it was just like those things of like, it was like one of those things, like, I remember those interactions, but I also remember the ones that I didn't feel comfortable with. And I said, I don't ever want to get anything with them. And, I've seen those same brands at the other big events. And again, same thing. It's just like, I hear from my customers, man, you guys, I really like your vibe here. I really like your vibe. You guys seem genuine. And honestly, we really are genuine. We are being serious when we say thank you, and we appreciate every sale. And Uno Mas would not be where it's at right now if it wasn't for our customers that are loyal to us. And that shows, because we really appreciate our yeses that come in, and it shows.
I'm going to add to that. I think that what you're saying is so important. I just want to pause on it and make sure everyone's hearing about appreciation, because we don't give enough of it in this world. We don't get enough of it in this world. Right. We know that, like, there's certain coffee shops I always go back to because they appreciate their customers. You can feel it when you walk in, not just because they know me at this point, they do it to everybody. And you can feel it, right? You can feel it from the people. And we don't give enough of it. And I've even, and I mean it, gotten into the practice of really appreciating my no's, and just even if it's just a small thing, like an email thing, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. Like, your time is important, and it didn't go, we're not going to be moving forward, but I appreciate meeting you and the time. And by the way, here's something that, given your love of XYZ, like cars, here's something, an article I found that I thought you might appreciate. Done. Right. And I'm not doing it with the expectation of it being a yes. I'm just saying, hey, I'm so thankful that you took the time. And I really do mean it. It's not a game. And for my customers, like you, I want to love on them. I love all of our customers.
So I have one example of a no that just came to mind. Was I was training a sales rep a couple years ago, and we were door knocking, and we went to this one. There was nobody home. We just knocked a bad neighborhood, or just a long time. Well, we got this knocked on one. This older man answered the door, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not interested. My brother is a roofer." And I'm like, "Hey, I totally understand. I'm doing a free roof inspection. There's no intention, but also too, let me. Can you just give us an opportunity to just give you a free roof inspection? If you do have damage, I'll give you all this information, all the pictures that we take, and we'll give it to you. You can give it to your brother." And I was like, now that's why I say the no's are always good. It's a clean slate, right? So I was like, well, at least
Yeah.
let me do this, and if anything, we'll get some training with the new guy. He's like, go ahead, go up there. It's a no. He already said it's a no. Even if there is
Yeah.
damage, he's going to use his brother. It's his brother. I get it.
Right. Of
All right,
course.
cool. We did it. I gave him, hey, here's the photos. Give this to your brother. You do have damage. You qualify for roof replacement through your insurance company. It should do it. And then there you go. That was it. And that sales rep was like, why did we even do that? It was a waste of time if we were going to know. I said, no, it's not a waste of time. You got training in, you got the experience of a no. And you're, again, our whole thing is service heart. So we're doing
Yeah.
a service, and that's what it is. Whatever. Literally 4 months later, I get a phone call from him. He's like, Anthony? And I'm like, yes, what's going on? And he was like, you came to my house. My brother's too damn busy. Come over. The adjuster's going to be here in an hour. I was like, oh, what?
Oh.
Like, great. That kind of turned into that. You
Yeah.
never know. But again, going
Great
with the
story.
intention of saying, hey, even no or whatever, it's going to happen. And I was like, hey, I still don't want to take any business from your brother. He's like, no. He's just too busy. He's just come on and get this done. And it wound up being like a $30,000 or $35,000 claim. We made some good money on it, built a relationship, and he referred me to his other people, and we did the neighbors. And it was just like, you got to be vulnerable enough to also take that no, and then also spin it. If you got to know, it's what you're going back to your heart, right? That servant's heart.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I'm so glad you shared that story. So thank you I'm glad that came up for you. I think it's such a great example too of when you provide value, it pays back. And it pays
Mhm.
back in different ways. Sometimes the no's turn to yeses. Sometimes the job gets bigger. Sometimes the idea comes to you, the collaboration. But I love that because I've had a few of my no's turn to yeses because of similar type of things. But that wasn't the intention because I think that shines through. I think if you go in with like,
Mm.
I'm going to shower them with appreciation so they change their mind, we're humans. We know.
Yeah,
Pick up on that shit.
exactly. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
hey, listen, dude. I know you're doing all this, but it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And also, too, man. Like, I'm a very like me personally. What keeps me going with the no, and what keeps me going in general, of just saying Uno Mas or whatever, is like I really believe in like my God and believe in God, and just know that like if I work hard, if I have good intentions, and I'm being a good person, that I'm gonna get blessings, and I'm gonna get a blessing in my life. And I really believe that if it's whatever your religion is, mine is God, and so it's just like I know that like I believe in like good karma. I believe in like you work hard, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I believe like when you get those no's to build character, that's a huge thing. You know what I mean? And you know, if it was a no, you don't know what it could have happened. Maybe that person, something bad could have happened, or whatever it is. If you tried, you know, like do your best, let God do the rest too. It's like that's another thing that my dad had told me growing up. And I tell myself that too. I'm like, man, I did my best today. I let my
Yeah.
head down. I know I gave it my max effort. I know I did Uno Mas. I know I gave it. And but I just know that if I just know that it's gonna hit, and that right there is gonna help you out. Whatever your belief is, I go towards that and do it. You know what I mean? And that's a huge part of it too. You know, even if you don't have there's times that people just don't have any will to keep going, and they don't know how to do it. Sometimes looking towards religion or looking towards your background helps too, man. It really does. If you, especially if you don't have the support of others, and you know, or you feel alone, you know, you have that. So that's a big huge thing too.
Yeah. I hear that. I think being connected to something bigger than yourself, whatever that bigger thing is for you,
Hmm.
is really important to find in this world. Really important.
Absolutely.
I know
Hmm.
we're out of time. I can't even believe it. This has been such an amazing
This is great. This is fun.
conversation. So thank you. Yeah. Oh, well, good. I try to make it fun.
This is
Is
good.
there any kind of parting advice? I mean, we covered so much, like between the no's and the imposter syndrome and putting yourself out there, and so good. So, any parting advice for our everyday innovators out there who are thinking, like, yeah, I want to do that thing so that, you know, a year from now, I don't look back at 2024 and go, I should have started.
Yeah. My parting advice will be, yeah, do your best, let God do the rest. That's it. That's what my dad has always told me, and that's all I'm gonna leave off with is that right there. Do your best and let God do the rest.
So, I have a product request for you on that note. You
All
said
right,
an
cool.
Uno Mas day. right? You said that a second ago. And it kind of goes to what your advice about doing your best. I would like, because I'm a big fan of, let's see, do I have it handy? Hold on. I'm a big fan of creating checklists and like keeping myself motivated by coloring stuff in. So
Nice.
yeah, and I've got stuff on my fridge. I'm a fan of that. So I like the visual. So I would like a calendar that every day just has Uno Mas on it. And then as every day is an Uno Mas, I can color it in. Because here's the other thing I'm just going to say. I know when I didn't have an Uno Mas day. I know when I go to bed, my all, you know? So I kind of like the idea of like a calendar that I can, anyway, that's my.
That'd be good. That's actually, there's a company locally that really focuses on like mental health and mental preparedness for athletes. So we're thinking about doing a collaboration, and I'll bring that to them.
Just
I think that'd be
saying.
really good.
Something
and here's the thing.
helpful.
But hey, also too, if you don't have an Uno Mas day, it's okay to leave a day to have just do nothing, and it's totally fine to do that. So it's fine. Just don't make it into a hat.
Well, maybe that is your Uno Mas that day, you know? Like not every day is 100% productive. Like you need the downtimes as much as you need the up times too. So
exactly.
All right.
Yeah. And
Anthony,
even if you did one thing, but yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. I so appreciate it. We'll put a link to Uno Mas and also to your roofing company because I have a feeling you're going to get some questions about that too.
Oh, that'd be great.
In our show notes when it goes live and everything. But it has been absolutely wonderful to interview you. I love Uno Mas. I love what you guys are about. I love the message and the inclusion and the motivation, the internal motivation that it gives people. I think that's why I love it so much because it doesn't feel external. It feels internal.
Exactly.
And that's the difference.
Exactly.
And that's long lasting. So thank you.
I think we got. No, appreciate it. And also thank you for having me. It was so great meeting you. And I'm so glad we did that pop-up. It was a random pop-up. It was so great. We met you.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm
telling you got to make a shirt that says, see you tomorrow. Tomorrow. See you tomorrow, like tomorrow.
I believe you said that my new nickname was going to be Manana, which might have been my favorite thing ever.
Oh, yeah, Manana. Yeah. Your nickname is Manana. That's right. I love it.